Check this out. As I was feeding the snakes, I decided to film them with the actual camera, mainly just them eating. Instead of just having the footage play, I'll go over some information about each snake that's shown. So right here is the female Chinese cobra, Naja atra. This girl's a little smaller than the male, which you'll see later, but just briefly. The Chinese cobra though is just a medium-sized cobra. They average around 4 to 5 foot. And being a cobra, that means they belong to the family Elapidae, which includes cobras, mambas, coral snakes, those type of snakes. But as she's eating, I want you to look at where her teeth are, the fangs. It looks like tiny gums, right? Elapids, unlike vipers, have the short, fixed fangs. They're in the front just like vipers, but you can see how tiny the gum pretty much covers it all. The vipers have the long, hinge-like mobile fangs. But that's why when I capture the fang foldage clips, it's just vipers. The cobras, you'll just see little gums. And yeah, not much to show, but on some clips you can see the little fang poking out. She's an incredible snake, and she actually flings venom similar to spitting cobras. And that's something that's been observed in this species and even monocle cobras. So although they're not true spitting cobras, they do fling venom, or some individuals show a tendency to fling it. And she does it when she's in the enclosure acting defensive, but once she's out, she's calm. She acts tough behind the glass. Now I've talked about the hood pattern of Chinese cobras in previous videos, but it's highly variable. Hers kind of wraps around her neck. The male, it's not as much of a horseshoe, it doesn't connect, but hers connects. Very beautiful, and there's some that even have even more beautiful of a pattern. But up next we have Annie, the banded snouted cobra. Look at that face. Does it look like a raccoon? One of my friends thinks she looks like a raccoon. Now she let go, most likely because I'm sitting there filming, but you'll notice cobras, they'll bite and hold on to the food. Unlike terrestrial vipers, which will bite and release and then track down the prey after it passes, cobras will just hold on and wait for the venom to take effect, which is usually quickly because of the neurotoxic venom. The snouted cobra, Naja annulifera, they're found in southern Africa. Now Annie is the banded version of the snouted cobra, naturally occurring, so banded snouted cobra. But other snouted cobras have a uniform pattern, kind of like grayish brown across the entire body. But the snouted cobra is large, especially compared to the Chinese cobra. Their average length is 4 to 6 feet long, but they can get up to 8 foot long. Annie is just incredible, and I can't wait for her to get full-grown adult. Imagine her. You've seen her in other videos. Very calm, laid back. And that's typical with the snouted cobras. A lot of them are very calm, but individual personalities. We talk about that a lot. Some can be a little bit more defensive. But these snakes are incredible. I love the banded phase, but the uniform pattern ones are just as beautiful. Now she has sort of an upturned snout, you can see. Not as upturned as like a hognose snake, but just a little bit, which gives them that common name, snouted cobra. The most incredible thing about snouted cobras, and actually some other large species of cobra in Africa, is that they have, or oftentimes have, permanent home bases like in abandoned termite mounds. They'll go out and actively hunt for prey, but they'll return to that home base. It's just so incredible to me. Another really incredible thing about the snouted cobra, similar to the hognose snakes again, similar to the ring owls, they'll play dead. They're not dramatic like the hognose snake. They don't roll around and do all that dramatic stuff, but they'll roll on their back, open their mouth a little bit, and have their tongue hanging out. It's just incredible to me. Cobras are very opportunistic eaters. They'll feed on tons of different prey items. Toads, eggs, birds, lizards, mammals, and even other snakes. There's footage out there of snouted cobras taking down puff adders and eating them. They love puff adders. But that being said, you gotta think about all the animals that would prey upon the snouted cobra, which would be things like other snakes. other cobra species, birds of prey, eagles, falcons, all those type of animals, monitor lizards, mammals, which leads to those other defensive behaviors such as hooding up, hissing, even gaping, showing off their mouth. It's just incredible, all these adaptations that snakes have to avoid predation or to avoid confrontation in general. And just like all other species of true cobra belonging in the genus Naja, they lay eggs. And the thing with the banded version of this species is when they're born, you can't really see the banding. As they age, the banding becomes more defined. But yeah, it's very faint, very hard to see when they're young. And the banding itself is highly variable. Some have very unique banding, some not as beautiful. I think Annie is one of the most beautiful banded snouted cobras. Some, the black part of the coloration you see here is almost purplish. It's just incredible. These snakes are so beautiful. One of the cobra species that I think is the most beautiful of all time. Just incredible. And watch as she pushes the food down. And the coolest thing with cobras, in my opinion, is when they hood up to push the food down even quicker. I don't know. These are things that just fascinate me and just amazing to me. But wow, what an incredible snake. Annie, can't wait until you're 8 foot long. Hopefully you're the world record. As I'm trying to think of more things about Annie that I could share with you, another thing that I forgot to mention is that they were once considered a subspecies of the Egyptian cobra, Najahaj, and that's why you'll often hear people call them banded Egyptian cobra. But they've been split into their own separate species. So although they're not found in Egypt, that's where they get the name banded Egyptian cobra if you hear them called that. Wow. But here is that male Chinese cobra I was talking about. Starting from the wrong end. But this is about all I filmed of him. And now it's time for Franklin, the West African gaboon viper. You see that strike? What an incredible strike. Let's watch it in slow motion. An incredibly fast strike. You can't even see her swinging her fangs out and re-biting pretty much in normal speed. But look at that face. Look at that triangular pattern under the eye. Incredible. So the West African gaboon viper, Bitis rhinoceros. There's also an East African gaboon viper, Bitis gaboonica. And the West African actually was a subspecies of the East African, but they've been split into two different species. Now, one way to tell them apart, quick and easy way, is those horns. The West African has them, the East African doesn't. Now, as Franklin gets bigger, those horns also get pretty large. Another way to tell the difference is that triangular pattern. With the East African, it's divided into two, so there's like a little separation right in the middle, a little line. But look at the fangs. And that's probably the most common thing that you'll hear about the gaboon viper. They have the longest fangs of any venomous snake. They say up to 2 inches long. Even though I've worked with some massive gaboon vipers, I haven't seen any that long. A little bit over an inch is the biggest I've ever seen. Still, massive fangs. Wow. So the puff adder I mentioned earlier that the snouted cobras will eat is also in the same genus as the gaboon vipers. So Bitis, another very incredible snake that's in the same genus, is the rhinoceros viper. I mentioned earlier too about how terrestrial vipers, those that live on the ground, will typically bite and release their prey, but you notice the gaboon viper and even other species in the genus Bitis will bite and hold on, and they actually lift their head up. That's so that the prey doesn't get traction on the ground and escape. How incredible is that? Now these get large, up to 4 to 5 foot. Imagine a 5-foot gaboon viper. Just incredible. And they sit on the forest floor, and that pattern, they blend in on the leaf litter on the ground. You can't even see them, and they're almost invisible. And this species is one of the heaviest venomous snakes on Earth, which is why they do that movement that you often see. the rectilinear locomotion where they move in a straight line. Heavy-bodied snakes will do that. But they can move quick too, don't be fooled by that. Franklin here will move very quickly, almost like sidewinding when she gets scared. But they're ambush predators. They'll sit in the leaf litter, wait for prey to pass by, and have that explosive strike. Still one of the few that makes me jump to this day. And gaboon vipers, they give large birth, and being so large, they can have tons of babies, 40 to 60. Now the venom of the gaboon viper is cytotoxic, and those massive heads have massive venom glands, leading to the gaboon viper having the second largest venom yield of any venomous snake, after the king cobra, the largest venomous snake on earth. But these are just incredible, and I captured something that I try, but she usually takes forever and I give up, but it happened this time. Not only on cell phone, but I captured it here as well on the actual camera. Fang foldage. How incredible is this? But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. Subscribe, click like. Let me know which one was your favorite snake. But a big shout out to my channel members. If you'd like to support my channel, become a channel member. Get early access to videos and exclusive videos, things like that. Big shout out to my Patreon members as well. If you'd like to support me over there, you also get early access to videos and exclusive content. And I want to give a big shout out to those that donate in other ways. But I love y'all. I'll be back soon. Now this footage is of the rink owls. One of the only times I've ever seen them hood up. Incredible.